Welcome everyone to our panel Set Design in VR. This panel is part of our program VRHAM Forward, where we examine how virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality help theater practitioners, theater makers, directors, set designers on how to envision new forms of theater and theater making. And now we come to a topic that I find extremely interesting personally. We all look at beautiful set designs at large opera houses or big theaters, and we are always in awe how they get produced, how many people are involved in the process, and what creative minds are at work to come up with those amazing ideas. But how do you actually do this in VR when you invent a VR theater performance, for example? And how can these tools like VR, AR, mixed reality help to build physical sets, envision new ideas, and blur the boundaries of what is real and what is hyper-real? Let's take a look at what our fantastic panelists from all over the world think. And our wonderful host, Alexandra, will speak with Suzanne Thoreau from the University of New South Wales in Sydney, with Tupac Martir from Satori Studio in London, and with Robin McNicholson from Marshmallow Laser Feast, also in London. Enjoy.
So, welcome to VRHAM 2021 in Hamburg and basically worldwide. We have guests from all over the world, Australia, the UK. So, I am very, very honored and equally excited to talk about design in VR and immersive experiences with some amazing guests. So I will just introduce them in, let's say, alphabetical order. So therefore, Robin, it will be you. Today with us, Robin McNicholson, founder and creative director of the award-winning creative studio, Marshmallow Laser Feast. Robin has directed a series of experiential, large, and installation and live performances. Next, Suzanne Thoreau. You are an RSC Laureate postdoctoral research fellow at the IE Cinema Center, or ICE Cinema Center, for interactive cinema research, as well as one of its deputy directors and research program leader in immersive design modeling. I hope I got that right. Tupac Martir from Turow Studio is a creative director and a multimedia artist known for publishing The Limit into conceptualize and execute iconic events in the fashion, art, and music industry. And you're also the founder of Turow Studios. I hope I could at least capture a few of all of your talents and your work, because some people just have one simple job. It's maybe a teacher for just one subject, and that's very easy. But with you guys, it is not like this. So I am very much excited to hear about what you're doing. So maybe you could individually just introduce yourself. What are you currently working on? What are you currently reading? Any film or series that you could recommend?
Shall I jump in? Alphabetical style?
Yes, why not?
Hi, I'm Robin, and as you mentioned, from Marshmallow Laser Feast. I'm really interested in the experiential movement. The community is wonderful, and I see it as an area that allows wannabe filmmakers like myself to explore and express myself in perhaps different ways and cherry pick from different industries. So we borrow from techniques from the computer game world and bring them together with theatre and music. And the project I'm working on at the moment is called Sweet Dreams. It's a project in collaboration with the British Film Institute, and I'm reading a wonderful book called Delicious.
Oh, delicious. Great. Suzanne?
Yes. I've prepared a PowerPoint, but I don't know if I should show it now or later.
Maybe.
Just to explain what we're working on later, I think it's better.
Okay, yes, just tell us what you read then.
I'm reading a lot of stuff on immersive simulation training for bushfire modeling, which is completely off topic of our current panel, but sort of our work at iCinema is very interdisciplinary, and we're doing immersive interactive computer visualization for a range of industries. So performing arts is one of them, but we also do a lot of interactive art installations. We do solutions for museums in terms of their collection management, and our latest ARC-funded project, which is sort of the big government-funded body for so the government funding for research is on AI-driven visualization and simulation of bushfire and wildfire scenarios.
Oh, wow.
So when it comes to one job, I have many.
Yes, I can tell.
So
I will ask everyone to repeat what each one of you said in the backwards order. All right, Tupac. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, Tupac.
I'm Tupac. I am not a dead rapper, and I used to run Satura Studio. I am now slowly stepping back and dealing more with the R&D side of things and the art, technology, and kind of special project side of things. I am a vivid internet user and stalker of all sorts of tech that exists around the world, and we are, and by de facto I am, very interested in what I call the realities and the idea of how all the realities mix with each other, whether it's AR, MR, XR, ephemeral realities, physical realities, and how they can combine in order to create new and interesting showcases of stories and movement. We are in the period right now where we're dropping artwork left, right, and center. So I'm not even going to start with all the pieces, but yeah, it's an interesting moment. And anyone that follows me on Instagram knows that I read 5 books at the same time. Yeah, so it varies from graphic novels to political stuff. Currently reading Murakami, Neil Gaiman. Yeah, it's a bit varied right now.
Oh, wow. 5 books at a time. Yeah, why not? Why choose one when you could choose 5? Yes, lovely. So basically, Suzanne, since you have prepared something for us to give us a little bit of a visual insight of your work, and I think from all the fantastic things that you said, which is carried perfectly and nicely with your voice, it would be also good just to see it a little bit.
Okay. I will do the... yeah, I'll be the academic here, which is like, oh, prepared a presentation. So this is essentially what we're doing. I am representing the iCinema Research Center at the University of New South Wales. And we have developed the iDesign project, which is the topic I'm talking to today. It was a government-funded project with Sydney Theatre Company, our partner organization, as well as NIDA, the National Institute of Dramatic Art. So here you see all the people involved in it, like amazing researchers and artists. So an iDesign sets out to develop a fully immersive set modeling platform where you can design your set in a real theater space or in a digital twin of a real theater space, which in this case was Sydney Theatre Company's Wharf Theatre Complex, which has been renovated and opened only this year. So during COVID and even before, this platform helped creatives at STC to design their sets in a space that wasn't already in existence, so a future space, so to speak. And the system is really good for ideation, pre-visualization, and then iterating your design. So it's a digital tool that helps you create for physical theater in a way. So a physically staged rather than a digital performance space, if that makes sense. And it runs across different platforms, so you can use it on a tablet, on a PC, laptop, or also with 3D wall-mounted screens or a 360-degree cinema, which is our flagship platform. So you can model in real time, so the system responds immediately, and you can model at 1-to-1 scale. So this means we have a 360-degree cinema at our campus and also across the world in Hong Kong, Lausanne, Karlsruhe, and New York. where you can enter the space, and it's 10 meters across and a screen of 4-meter height. And just imagine yourself to be this one little person here walking around the space, and it's motion tracked. And you can either, like, you wear 3D glasses, like slim polarized glasses, and it's a stereoscopic view, so you get a sense of walking into your theater, and you can design right there in the space on the stage. And that's what sort of the iDesign system does, is you can block out the space, create, either import your data or extrude shapes on the stage, and then texturing them, painting them, and then lighting them, annotating your design, and also, if you fancy, run an AI analysis that calculates sightlines from any seat, or does actor path tracing, so to determine where points of collisions might arise in your design. So I have a quick video to show you what that looks like in the application itself. So you can extrude whichever shape you want, and then sort of work your way through the application, putting a ramp, texturing that, resizing it. And we have different ways of inputting. So you can either use voice control or keyboard input, or have little controllers that allow you to design using your body as an interface. And then it has sort of this, we have the stored information on the system, has sort of the lighting truss system from Sydney Theatre Company, and sort of all their capabilities of the new theatres. You can put the theatre, like, it's a modular space, so they have in the round configurations for the seats and on theatre and corner configuration, so you can try out your design in different versions of the theatre and design and decide which one's best. So then you can fly through the theatre as you please. I hope it's not too long. So you can just choose any seat and have like a little animation of your set, and then just hop through however you wish to view your design. And then that was what the set was from STC's first 2020 production, which opened the Wharf Theatres. That was Playing Beatty Bow, designed by David Fleischer and under the direction of Cube Williams. So this is to give you a point of comparison, and it was modeled on an like early 19th century sort of, it's a historical play. So that was the reference material, and then this is my colleagues trying out the design in our AV space, an early iteration where we had 2D cutout figures. And then you can also, of course, fly in different sets that you're working on. So you can choose a different production and then simply load that on. And yeah, so that's what it looks like in AV, and that was the reference picture of what it looked like on stage, which was a design by Michael Scott Mitchell and for Sydney Theatre Company and Barking Gecko, produced in 2015. I hope I wasn't vomiting too much here, but that's essentially what our work is about. We've received more funding from the Australian Research Council with a different partner, Opera Australia, to extend that into a full rehearsal system where you can also put in the costumes, the choreography, and to account for any video projections and moving screen technology on stage. So, but very much sort of trying to use the visual space, digital space, as a pre-visualization and testing space for designs to be extruded in real space or physical space.
It looks incredible.
Indeed.
And very useful.
I'm glad you say so, because when I heard who I'm presenting with, I was like, oh my God.
Well, what's fascinating is you must have experienced the revelations of bringing different departments into that space, costume designers, prop directors, movement directors, and performers, so they're able to fathom and realize a collective vision. I think it's wonderful. And in our own way, this is what we're often striving for, and you just discover through that process generally lots of obstacles. That's from my perspective. I don't know if you would agree.
Yes, that was one of the main ideas behind, especially the new funding we've got, was to bring all the creatives together to collaborate on a production and see all their inputs converging into one space. Because at the moment, everyone's working across different platforms, and especially with video projections and animation running in the background on a stage, our designers were just like, well, what? What's happening? What's running here and what's running there? And how are the people positioned relative to all of that? So that was one of the things we're tackling next.
What you presented really expresses the moment in time where we're at, where the convergence and cross-pollination of different departments is just really opening new doors. And I definitely, Tupac, I see that in your work as well. And when in a space where you have the opportunity for a sound department to engage with a movement director who engages with lighting as well, it's so critical. And it's actually the old world, I suppose the non-digital, have formulated really quite sound and efficient systems of dealing with these silos. But what I'm interested in is, and what it looks like you've exposed here, is just lowering the barrier of entry in terms of access to actually work together, to collaborate and allow the cross-pollination of ideas, more creativity ultimately. And I imagine, Tupac, you are one to kind of be enticed by these.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I literally what we're doing on the other side. It's because of the exploration in which we're in right now. It's a bit difficult, especially with Corona and everybody having to work from afar from each other and trying to understand. And we have a sound engineer and 2 sound designers added to our art director, to our movement director, to all the other stuff that's coming along. Sometimes I find it difficult how to express with everybody what exactly I'm looking at, and how, and I'm sure, Robin, you're running into these things where it's not until we're all together in a rehearsal space that everyone goes, oh, now I get it, because in our heads it's very, very clear, but sometimes the tools that everybody has at their disposal are not the ones that you would like them to have. And so you end up having to do sketches for one and 3D models for another one, and then mood boards for somebody else. And, so being able to put it into a single space is really, really nice.
Tupac, you just mentioned that is what you're working on across the room. So I'm sure maybe there are a little bit, maybe you can allow us into a small, what are you doing basically? What are you doing next site?
It's what I would call the natural progression of the work that we've been doing. When we moved from the original show, we moved from Nyaka, which was a properly staged performance piece, and with all the technology and the beacons and the tracking elements and the live artists on stage, and a full orchestra and a rock band and DJs and children's choir and an opera singer. It's that vastness of people. Then moving to Sikuri, which was more of a 360 element, and playing with projections and causes and layers and lighting. And then when we move into Cosmos and the idea of performative art and a performance that happens in 2 different realities, in a virtual reality and a physical reality, without changing the story, what does it feel like to do? What does it feel like to be on the one running the show? What does it feel like to have 14 people working for you, 14 people between musicians and actors and dancers and sound engineers and and running everything live and conducting it live, and the way that the story kind of runs in parallel but runs actually in a different curve for our audience that it does for our interactor. And now the question goes, what happens when you extrapolate the story completely and you're actually giving me the opportunity to do everything at the same time without a proper script, and actually delving into all the music and the actors and the dancers, and actually generating a new piece every single time you perform without the possibility of repeating yourself.
Oh.
So the piece begins with the premise that there's 2.5 million ways of being performed. And then from there, I start extrapolating the way that I'm going to perform it.
Oh, so am I understanding correctly? Basically, you have the piece that has no script and also no topic.
It's all based on 96 phrases and 96 drawings that I made, and we've created every chapter has a melody, and then within the melody, I'm able to destroy it or build it the way that I want to. But also, we're working across virtual reality, augmented reality, streaming, physical reality. And so for me, when I say it's the most ambitious thing we've ever done, it truly is the most ambitious thing we've ever tried, because it's what I call the beginnings of where I see the future of entertainment. And the framework that we're creating is a framework that once we've able to establish it, we can actually give it to people, and people can come in and use it in any possible way. Like I think of what the guys at MLF can do with what we're doing at the moment, and they can grab and take elements in here and there, and parts of our AI and parts of the way that we do music and the way that we are using the streaming services and all that, and then put it together to create their own story. So it's a framework in reality that we're making that just happens to have another piece inside of it. Oh.
So what's the motivation behind rather to create a framework that kind of interconnects all these different elements, or is it the ambition because you could do this with a story that you know already per se? So what is the motivation?
It's the framework. It's the idea of when we did Cosmos in Venice, we performed it to 4 people, and by the time we got to New York, we were doing 150. And by seeing 150 people going to me, I've never done VR, but now that I've seen this, I really want to try it. And the amount of people that came to me and saying, "Oh, you must have had so many learnings of all this. I wonder what you're going to do next. I wonder what and out of those learnings, actually creating something that other people can come in and take it over and use it for their own purposes of this, in a true way of technology for good, in a way of creating something that is not just for me and for us to become, to even make some money out of it. Hopefully, yes, but that's not the point. The point is to actually give the knowledge that we're getting and give it to the rest of the world so they can come in and create their own stories. There's a group that came out in New York because they came and saw Cosmos, and it was 10 guys. They saw it, and by the time I was having a drink with them, they already had ideas about how they wanted to do using the framework that I had created. And for me, like that's the empowering bit of what we're trying to do. We just happen to stumble upon things, and from there we want to be able to give other people the opportunities to create their own stories and to build upon those stories. I think that's the legacy that we have as artists that are merging this physical and digital. People like me who are 40 years old and come from dialing a phone still like this, and remembering what it felt like to being able to just say, to my phone, call so-and-so. I think it's my responsibility that living in that crossover world to give those opportunities to create these things for other generations and other creatives to come in and take over.
Wow, inspiring. You are like, I like the idea and I like the motivation about it that besides expressing one's own idea, also that you actually, your next piece or your next aim is to set a framework. And it made me think about what you said, Robin, at the beginning, that you said you are somebody who's trying to put elements from different themes to put them kind of together and find ways to express, what did you say, filmmaking or wannabe filmmaking. And I just love the idea where you said that you are trying to bring different elements together. So when I see this new framework, and he already knew, because he knows you obviously knew already, this is something where you guys could also create a new thing. So but the new thing, tell me about dreams, because I heard this was kind of mentioned and dropped. So maybe, Robin, you could tell me a bit about this project Dreams.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the project, not to be confused with the computer game Dreams. We recently collaborated with Media Molecule, who make this game for PlayStation Dreams. The PlayStation project aside, I think we're going to talk about Dream, and to add even more confusion, the latest project I'm working on is called Sweet Dreams. So it's quite a dreamy affair at MLF, but the project Dream was a collaboration and is still an ongoing research project. Funded by Innovate UK, there was a consortium of creative practitioners, as well as a research arm and lots of technologists who came together. And the Project Dream was the demonstrator, a large but small part of the audiences of the future investigation. At its heart, it's R&D, and the people involved were the Royal Shakespeare Company, the Philharmonia Orchestra, Manchester International Festival, Marshmallow Laser Feast, and Epic Games, as well as many other entities such as Portsmouth University and De Montfort University, as well as I2 Media. And what we've been doing, and the consortium, it's larger than that, and it's been going for a couple of years, and really it's underlined the importance of R&D, and it I feel a natural bond to Suzanne, to Tupac, in that I'm sure that you both respect and understand the heavy importance for that, as it's our lifeblood, and it is the opportunity really to make mistakes. And in the area, this emergent area, the XR scene, you need to make mistakes, and there's just lots of fresh snow to explore. And the Project Dream was a story world at its core. It was inspired by A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I worked as director on it, working very closely with the head of literary at the RSC. And we created a story world and windows into that story world. It was a live online show, showcasing some of the R&D learnings along the way. We'd researched about deformable object tracking, so tracking squidgy stuff. You know, why is everything digital? Trackpads, you've got other metal and glass things. Why do they not bend? Why do they not squidge? And so the idea of exploring more organic textures in the work that we create as physical interfaces. And that expands to human bodies as well with motion capture. And so the Project Dream was a live show. It ran from March the 12th till March the 20th of this year. And we created windows into a story world effectively. So people would rock up, they would get a ticket, and they'd have quite a kind of, it was effectively a COVID pivot. It was initially going to be a live experience, a location-based experience, but when the pandemic hit, we pivoted and created a live experience for people at home to tune in and witness unique shows each evening, which really explored mixed reality. At the core of this was this challenge to turn a 7 by 7 meter volume into a 7 by 7 kilometer forest. And so we were exploring the challenges of working with a virtual space and just really trying to explore techniques using virtual cameras, so filmic techniques, performative techniques with movement to solve problems in a fluid way to try and suspend, the suspension of disbelief. It was a fun, exhausting, and educational project. I could talk about it for hours and hours, but I loved it as a thing to just absorb myself in.
Still any chances to view this somewhere?
Yeah, there is next month, I think there'll be an announcement, so it will live on. And from my perspective, the most important aspect of the R&D process was just discovering what future potential this has for creative people and practitioners, especially around the performing arts area. There's just so much scope. I'll just try and explain very quickly. What we discovered was that it just erodes the constraints relating to geography. So we can invite audiences into a theatrical space. We're truly a global society, and I think that inviting performers through telepresence, as well as audience members, into that same story world, into that same reality, to pick up on suggestions from Tupac about this almost metaverse. What I've realized is, once you've built it, you can present it on a stage. So one window into a story world can be projection. Another window is a VR headset. Another window still is an iPad. And what we can do with that is allow for more creativity to flow, allow for more ideas and stories to be told in different ways. And I find that quite interesting. From a creative perspective, there's so much potential now to tell the same old stories, but in very different ways, that moves with the digital literacy that's come up with the pandemic, for example. We can move with that and look for positives with it, as well as the fact that we're just so visually literate now, in terms of visual and sonic storytelling. This is something that we're entrenched in terms of popular culture, and we like playing with that, really.
Great, thank you so much. It was actually truly interesting to hear about all your fantastic ideas, visions, and the projects that you're currently working on. But we are already at the end of our time, but I really do hope that you enjoyed this conversation and would actually come back maybe for a talk on AI versus creativity or other fantastic stuff. So I wish you best of luck. Enjoy all your readings and have a lovely, lovely, lovely week. Thank you so much for all being here.
Thank you.
Nice to chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into our panel Set Design in Virtual Reality. And thanks so much, of course, also to our panelists and our host, Alexandra. For those of you who are interested in that space, theater, performance with extended realities, we have next up another panel about one very interesting intervention in theater and XR. It's called Bedlam, and the three creators are going to share their insights. So do tune in 25 minutes. See you very soon. Thanks much.